I thank all of you for joining the Eskenzi webinar on how to brief analysts, the importance of having analysts in our life. And I'm Yvonne Eskenzi, as you know, from Eskenzi PR, and I know you three very, 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 very well. And I appreciate you joining us on the call today. And I wanted it to be one of these things where obviously, I've been doing analyst relations forever, and as Donna has been doing analyst relations forever, and Rick, I've known you for even before you became an analyst.
Yeah, absolutely. Go back to my journalist
But
days.
when you were a journalist, doing a real proper job. But anyway, now you're doing another job. Um, and so a lot of people say to me, what do the analysts bring to the table? What do you do? Why is it so important to have analysts on our side? How do you do it on a shoestring? How do you do it with a bigger budget? Loads of questions that people ask. And I know that I wanted to, first of all, as we start, introduce you. So if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourselves briefly, then we can kind of launch straight into some of the questions that we've got lined up for you. I don't know whether, Rick, you would like to start, please.
Sure thing, yeah, no problem. So I'm Rick Turner, and I'm the chief analyst on the cybersecurity team at Omdia, which is an analyst house these days headquartered in Boston with a NASDAQ listing, although we are still outside of the big three with ambitions to get right into the big three, as you can well imagine. But anyway, well, that's who we are, and we're a 10-person team looking at specifically all the aspects of cybersecurity as it is sold into and used by business customers.
So is that a 10-person team just on cybersecurity?
Yeah. There's
Okay.
400 analysts at Omdia, but
Gosh, I didn't know it was that big. Amazing.
we cover three areas in technology. We do telecoms,
Yeah.
we do media, so all the whiz bang stuff that goes on at everywhere from Spotify to Hollywood and Bollywood. And
Yes.
then there's enterprise IT, which is where the cybersecurity team sits.
Okay. Didn't know that. Interesting. And Madeline, do you want to introduce yourself as well, please?
I'm Madeleine van der Hout. I'm based out of Amsterdam. Probably everyone can hear that from my Dutch English accent. I'm a cybersecurity and risk analyst at Forrester. I've joined Forrester on the dot 3 years ago, and I cover several topics from a global perspective. But for instance, regulation, I look at that from more European lens, and yeah, it's just a very great job to have, and being part of such a nice ecosystem.
Thank you. And Donna Estrin, do you want to introduce yourself? Because you're not an analyst, but you do spend your life doing analyst relations.
Yeah, I've been working in industry analyst relations for about 18 years. And now I work for myself, helping small companies that don't need a full-time person, helping them with analyst relations, but they need someone to kind of keep things moving. And I work with some PR agencies like Eskenzi with their clients to get them in front of analysts, give them best practices, train them on analyst relations. So I've been working with Rick for the last since my McAfee days 18 years ago, and yeah, I've been working with Forrester as well for a long time. So great to be here.
Okay, thank you. So the first question, which I think is the most obvious one, is why should vendors brief an analyst? Why should they be doing that? I don't know when, Madeline, you want to take that first question, please.
Well, it's I think it has multiple layers why to brief. So first of all, I always referred back to a higher level, and that is that we all have a responsibility, so end users, vendors, but also analysts, to improve our markets. And the only way possible is if we know of each other's existence outside of that, for instance, that I do my research, but that I have a great understanding of where a company is going, that I have a great understanding of how they're developing. And that is really crucial in driving product changes, in having that conversation between portfolio developments, but also what end users actually need. So for me, it's crucial to be up to date. And also for me, it really reflects in doing research, where markets are going, what to take into account, both from end user perspective, but also a vendor perspective.
Brilliant. Okay, Rick.
Anything to add to that from your perspective, Rick?
Yeah. Well, first of all, everything that she just said, because that was good.
It always is very good, Rick.
Yeah, okay, look, if you are a vendor in, all right, I'm going to refer specifically to the cybersecurity market. Obviously, it's different in different spaces, but let's take an example, a good example, which is the cybersecurity market, which is anybody who's listened to this and is a participant will know is at any one time characterized by being somewhere between 3,000 and 5,000 companies. The vast majority of them little startups with some sort of, I don't know, probably about 20 to 30 companies at the top of the pyramid, who are the usual suspects that are doing anywhere between $2 and $10 billion in the cybersecurity market. But they are a tiny proportion of this vast market with this huge long tail. I mean, there must be at least 2,000 companies that are doing about, I don't know, $1 million or something. So there's a lot of companies that are really small. And clearly, therefore, one of the problems that you are facing is, number one, it's a lot of them, of that, let's say 3,000, a lot of them, probably 80%, are still privately held. In other words, they are not listed, which in turn means that they are seeking a couple of things, but fundamentally visibility and understanding on the part of the markets of what they do.
Yeah.
And of course, one way that you can get visibility, and I'm, as a former journalist, I'm not going to knock journalists at all, because it's vitally important that you do speak to the press, both the general press, but more in particular the trade press, who will be writing about you and whose readership wants to know about technology like yours, wants to understand where to put you in this complex landscape. However, it is different when you're talking to analysts for a couple of reasons. One, because analysts are not out to get the latest scoop or to publish tomorrow morning and get ahead of all their competitors by getting out there tomorrow morning. They want to get it right, I would venture to suggest. And they are prepared to work with you to make sure that they get it right, which does not mean that they will write something about you that, as the Americans say, that blows smoke up your posterior. What rather they are looking to do is to get an accurate description of what you're doing.
Yep.
And see where it might fit in the market.
Yep.
What else it competes with, and fundamentally what its competitive advantages might be. But also, this is fundamental. Sorry if it's a long-winded answer, but I think it's fundamental to make this point early. Also, they are, because they're not they're not your marketing department, which means they are also going to talk back to you and tell you where they think your shortcomings are.
Yeah.
And they might even publish that. Sorry, Mad, carry on, mate.
No, I really love that. I always say as well, like, analyst relations, it's not PR. It's not a vanity exercise. I always say that. That so relates to my own view. And if you're not visible, there's a large chance that you're not clearly understood as well. Absolutely. So it's about my life. Wait, I'm being clearly misunderstood by this room. That the lights are turning off. But so it's so important that the category narratives as well. So yeah, I fully agree with Rick.
Well, that's great. And then thank you, Rick. And what about you, Donna? What would you say from your perspective when because you do this the whole time from the other side of the fence?
Yeah, I would say it's really critical to update the analysts in a crowd, especially in cybersecurity, because it's a crowded market. Update the analysts so they know who you are. They are also tracking the market, and they are talking to end users and customers. And so it's really important to kind of see if you can get some feedback as well, because companies are like in their own little heads. They have their own marketing spin on stuff. And so, talking to analysts who are tracking the industry, they can give you a real taste of reality and see if your message is resonating with end users and your customers. And if not, then you can reevaluate how you're talking about yourselves. Also, because analysts are talking to potential customers, they might be that you want them to kind of know about you so they can recommend you to people in future.
I mean, I think that's the most important thing when you speak to an analyst. I mean, that's the whole point. I think when we sit down with you guys, and I know we do the analyst forum, the IT security analyst and CISO forum, I get all these amazing pearls of wisdom when I sit with you. You all know what's going on behind the scenes. And I think that's the bit that you have your ear to the ground. And I think that's the most, you know what's going on out there. And I think that's why it's so important to have a good relationship with you guys, because you know what's going on. You can, as you said, you'll be brutally honest. You've got nothing to hide, so you're going to tell people exactly what you think of them in a way, aren't you? Because it's not PR. You're not talking to a journalist, you're talking to an analyst, and you're analyzing what the companies are up to and what they should be doing. And I think that's the essence. You would never get that kind of like overview from anybody else. As you said, Donna, you're actually going to hear it. You're hearing from these guys. They've got nothing to hold back. You don't have anything to, you've got no hidden agenda. And I think the most important thing is you're also talking to a load of your own customers, aren't you? I think that's a question I'd like to ask, if I may. And that's sort of how does it work on the other side of the fence? Because I always see it from our side of the fence where we're trying to get our clients in front of you, and you're going to give them a nice candid response. But then are you then going to your customers, and who are your customers? Are you saying, I've just seen somebody really fantastic, you should be talking to them? How much of that do you actually do behind the scenes?
Matt, do you want to go first, mate?
Yeah, sure. Well, it works in so many different dynamics. So in doing my research on certain markets, but also in trying to elevate certain topics within cybersecurity, you then have inquiries and guidance sessions with end user customers. So it then when talking about that research, that always comes up. It always comes up that you find something different, or they come with you to with a specific problem on, for instance, operating model or a certain platformization. In my case, a lot around API security, for instance. Well, we've seen in the past years that API security, there has been a lot of consolidation in the market, and that also end users have been searching for broader platforms. But then sometimes you do see some niche solution, or you've been briefed, or you had a conversation, or I had a research interview with a vendor that really spiked interest or was something completely different. Yeah, you do have conversations. So for me, it is all these different gateways, sort of say. Yeah.
Thank you. Rick, what about from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, it's true. I do spend an awful lot of time speaking to vendors, but yes, we also speak to the end users. A lot of that actually comes through, obviously they're reading our stuff, but it also a lot of comes through inquiries. And they're interesting because they highlight trends sometimes in the user community about what's pushing people's buttons, if you like. I mean, a good example, one of the many areas that I've looked at for, blimey, since before the pandemic, I was already interested in the looming threat of quantum computing in the world of data security. And I was almost certainly probably one of the few people on the planet that was. And I was writing these things, talking about this stuff, and people would go, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, it's nice. But that was it. And then over the last year and a half, 2 years, I've probably had at least one inquiry a month of somebody actually asking me to explain to them what's going on in post-quantum cryptography.
Blimey, that's a difficult one. If you know what you're talking about, Rick, I take my hat off to you.
Well, yeah, I mean, it sounds very complex because of all these silly names, but it just means how are you going to keep your encryption capabilities safe after there are computers out there that will be able to break existing ciphers in a matter of hours instead of 1,000 years. So it's so in but it's just, you know, I mean, I've always invited people to submit questions about stuff, but just it's literally over the last year and a half to 2 years, I've seen like more incoming inquiries about that than I did over the previous 5 years, which to me shows that the market is waking up. And I would add that we then go out and survey the market, just like putting out surveys about what's hot and what's not. And it's just, we're seeing just, I'm not going to say that people are losing sleep or over it, or that it's top of their agenda, because it's not yet, nor should it be. But they need to be thinking about it. And I'm glad to see that a few of the more forward-thinking folks in places like, you know, financial services institutions are starting to think, okay, this is coming down the pike at us. How do we protect ourselves? Because that is definitely the way that things are going.
Okay. And Donna, you do this all day long, but how will you give an example of how you've seen good analyst relations move the needle for one of your clients? How it's actually been, what it's done for them?
Yeah, I would say, you know, the best thing to do, people do tend to, oh, I need to do something, there's a report coming out, and speak to an analyst. But analyst is really about building that relationship over time. So you just don't want to do it once a year. You want to keep building that relationship. You want to have those touch points throughout the whole year. And then, you know, if a small company is in an evaluation, it can really dramatically increase their leads that they're getting in, and the you know, press around being in coverage, any analyst reports, and it can really help with their branding and visibility. So definitely, you know, I've helped companies be in something like a Forrester wave, and that's really dramatically given them branding recognition, and led them to kind of increase their sales that they're generating. So it can be really dramatic.
Really dramatic. And Rick and Madeline, those 2 questions to you, because you're working with these vendors all the time. How have you seen working with a vendor really move the needle for them?
I'll go first with that one, if I may, only because it's a very straightforward answer from me. Earlier today, there was a team meeting, and one of my colleagues who writes specifically about security in the OT and IoT world, she was saying that she went to a recent event with not a minor, but actually a huge, one of the major players in the infrastructure world of IoT and OT and IoT, really. I won't say who, but you know, these guys do sell an awful lot of OT equipment. Let's put it that way. And during the course of the event, one of the top AR people came over to her and said that I wanted to pass on the thanks from our CEO because you featured us in that comparative report that you put out a couple of months ago. And he said that, in fact, you are one of our best salespeople, which is great, because she didn't, so it wasn't like she was saying they're the best thing since sliced bread and they're the only people that know what they're doing or anything stupid like that. She was just featuring their technology and saying where she thinks they've got it right. And, you know, I mean, for the CEO to pass on his thanks of that in that way was really quite something.
I bet their name began with an A and ended in S.
I cannot possibly comment.
Madeline. That's a good answer, though. You are the best salesperson, unpaid salesperson, aren't you?
Yeah, you know, if you get it right, why not?
I agree with you. That's the ghost of Christmas, Madeline.
Yeah, it is. It keeps on switching off. Well, to me, same. I think also that what I would like to emphasize is it is a relationship.
Yeah.
And it is a relationship in a triangle. So it is it's with the entire market to make society a safer place when it comes to cybersecurity. And the only way possible to do that is to build that relationship,
Yeah.
and also to keep on continuing learning from each other.
Yeah.
And for me, that is incredibly important. And also, there is so much data available. Having a great collaboration and a great relationship also benefits research to that regard. So, and research highlights also from a different perspective what vendors are capable of, or what they're seeing, or where they're specialized, or what they are bringing to the table besides how we push out research, for instance. So for me, that entire relationship, it massively helps if I have more touch points and not just a touch point before an evaluation. It's about a relationship, and it's actually a strategic partnership, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and Yvonne, let me just add. So I mean, obviously it's great to be in one of these research papers like the waves that we've discussed, but also if you are leveraging an organization and doing some paid pieces with Omdia, you can actually, if people don't know about the market, you have their opportunity to work with the analyst firm and build up this piece of collateral that you're able to leverage. And that's like third-party validation. And that's what customers are really looking at.
Exactly. I'm going to write that down on my little piece of paper, third-party validation, because that's so important, isn't it? Because that's everything. You can't buy that, and you don't even always have to buy that third-party validation. Like you pay for it. You guys will do briefings without actually having to pay for them. I think that's important to note as well. You don't have, you can have a briefing with you, Madeline, or you, Rick, and you don't have to pay for it, do you? It's a relationship thing you start building.
I mean, I work with a lot of companies that don't have that much budget for analyst relations, so they don't have those paid engagements, but there's still an opportunity to brief analysts, meet up with them at events. And then I do recommend that my clients do a kind of at least quarterly newsletter, which is basically free, where you can put down a company's product updates, press releases, events that they've done, just a kind of quick summary, send that over to the analyst, and it just helps you have another touch point without having to book until you're waiting for the briefing. So there's just a couple of ideas where people can really leverage just those touch points
when you don't have an awful lot of money. How many times do you meet your customers, Madeline and Rick? How many times a year do you have a chat with your kind of like subscribing vendors?
Ongoing. I think it's so I have ongoing I have per quarter, I have ongoing research where I talk to both end users and vendor clients. I do briefings. I, at least in the markets that I look after, I do try every quarter, or when there is a good or when there's a portfolio update, or like big events, I call them. I always am interested to being briefed. If there's any news, I read the newsletters. But having a touch point every quarter, for me at least, is crucial. With some, I do every 2 months.
Gosh.
But then it also depends on how much you're traveling, or speaking at events, or having other customer engagements. But it's crucial to be up to date.
Wow.
I would say.
Okay. What about you, Rick? Thank you.
Slightly different, only in as much as, yes, I have subscribers to the particular service that I produce. And so, of course, I endeavor to keep up with them at very least, about roughly quarterly, if at all possible.
Yeah.
And they also get, since they are subscribers, they're getting kind of an outbound report from me on a quarterly basis, which is, discussion. We record things like discussions about the funding tracker that we do, or the M&A tracker that we do. So there's kind of outbound stuff that they can watch, rather like they'll be watching something like this. They get that on a quarterly basis. However, a large part of my work is specifically with the kind of the small guys, the new kids on the block,
Yeah.
which Donna was talking about. In other words, the ones who haven't got an awful lot of money.
Yeah.
So I am almost on a continual basis, I would say probably 3 or 4 times a week, meeting a company that I've never met before.
Yeah.
And I'm well aware that I'm not going to be necessarily speaking to them every quarter.
Yeah.
Indeed, probably not even every 6 months.
Mm.
But what I try to do with them is I try to make sure that I do an accurate description of them.
Yeah.
Get that on our database, and then they can perhaps they might then, if they're in, say, data security, they might then go and talk to our data security specialist from then on, who both he and they can use that profile as the basis of their future conversation. Well, yeah, Rick said that about us, but now 6 months later, we're also doing this and we've stopped doing that, and so on and so forth. And of course, it's also useful to their customers to get that as well.
What are the do's and the don'ts, do you think, to good analyst relations? Madeline?
Well, first of all, if you join with 20 people, we only have so much time. So long introductions will cut down the time for valuable interactions massively. Come prepared. If, like Donna was earlier when we were not on a call yet, saying, and that is so true, we see a lot about the market. We see a lot of vendors. We see cross observations, for instance. So we already know what's going on in the market. So I want to know, where are you heading? What is your strategy? How are you developing? How are you helping your customers? So spend that time really wisely, and also make it a conversation. I love a conversation. I'm here also to provide feedback. So if there are any questions for me, also leave some room for that, or for me to ask questions as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. Rick?
Yeah, I will only differ slightly from Donna and Madeline there, in that I do like it when the vendor tells me what their view of the market is, because often if they might get it wrong, and if they do, that helps me to understand what they're trying to do. So I quite like it when they describe how they see the market and therefore what their product is trying to do in that market. I mean, for they may be actually sometimes, one of the things I find most comical is when a company says, you say, well, because I always ask, this comes from my time as a journalist, I suppose, but I always ask, so who do you think of as your most direct competitors? And they said, well, we haven't really got a direct competitor. So then I have to say, well, but hang on, who do you meet most often in competitive environments when you're bidding for work? Who else is in there bidding against you? And once or twice I've had people say, oh, I'm not going to advertise my competitors. And that's not what it's about.
No.
It's understanding. Yeah. I mean, because it's also, this is going to half of the work that we do up front in any of these contacts is pigeonholing you so that we know where you fit
and who your competitors are.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me who you think your competitors are. You can tell me why you're unique and wonderful and fantastic and better than they are. By all means, I'm very happy to hear what you think your USPs are. But whenever someone says, well, we haven't got any competitors, I always sort of then, in the back of my mind, there's always a voice saying, if you're the only person saying this, has it ever occurred to you might be barking up the wrong tree?
Exactly.
Or have you done your research as well? And also that came to mind, because I do agree with you, Rick, that it's interesting to hear their perspective, but then to know where to fit them. But if you got the wrong people on the call, it's something quite basic, but I come across this a lot. We are annoying people as analysts. We love to ask annoying questions. That's just the type of people we are. My mom and dad, they can tell you all about it. I ask them annoying questions as well. But if you are not able to answer those questions, or first of all, if you're not able to answer, always fine, but just say, I will get back to you or whatsoever.
Yes,
it's always fine.
But
if you feel that it's a sales pitch or a marketing pitch and you're asking questions about the product or whatsoever, and have the right people on the call as well to be able to answer on a certain level.
That's why it's always important to have someone like a Donna on the call or us on the call, because then we're like that third ear and we can actually hear it, and then we can take the notes and come back to you. I was also going to say, I think the IT security analysts and CISO forum that we do, it's important you get the perspective, obviously, from different people. Often you'll have the CTO on a call, but you in that briefing, and you may have the CMO on that. So you'll see from two different perspectives actually in those briefings. But then it's really cool because then we have the CISOs as well on that Saturday.
That's really good.
And then you see everything from a CISO perspective, and it throws everything out of the window, doesn't it?
The dynamic is fantastic. For me, that is like that event, that second day is the golden triangle, or how do we want to call it, together in one room. And that is magic. Yeah. It's magic.
It happens very rarely.
I think it goes back to the question about doing things on a budget, because with your forum, you can get to meet 10 different analysts in one day, which is a rare. I've never seen anything like that before. But yeah, going back to pet peeves, I definitely do recommend that people start on time, because time is limited, like Madeline said, and then also just to check out the platform that they're using, because sometimes people use Teams, sometimes people use WebEx, and then that can, if you're messing around with technology and trying to get into the meeting, it takes you 5 minutes to get in, then you've lost 5 minutes of time, and people do that all the time. And then my number one pet peeve is, this is a relationship builder. You cannot just talk to an analyst out of the blue as soon as an evaluation kicks off. You have got to be speaking to them throughout the whole year, meeting up with them, touching base with them throughout the whole year. Definitely. That's my main pet peeve, and that's something I definitely recommend that companies do.
And what about your pet peeve, Rick? Have you got a pet peeve? Try saying that really quickly.
No, I'm very understanding.
Oh, you are. You're lovely. That's why you're on this call.
I mean, I've heard it all before, and it's fine. I mean, it's. I suppose the only thing I will say is it irks me somewhat when let's say I write a profile of a company, and out of politeness and because it's the way we work, I will submit it to them for factual accuracy.
Dangerous.
And when it comes back, they have completely butchered the thing and filled it with marketing BS.
Oh God, yeah, awful.
And well, I mean, basically all they're doing is giving me more work because I'm going to strip it all back out.
Yeah.
And I tell them I'm going to strip it back out. There's no way I would publish it. I mean, don't try and tell me you're unique. Don't tell me you are a single point of, or any of those kind of.
Or that you're the leader. Or you're the leader.
Or that you're the leader, or a one-stop shop, or any of that tosh. I don't want to know any of that. Just, I will reach those conclusions. Thank you. Just make sure that it accurately describes what your product does and how you're taking it to market. End of.
I thought you said you didn't have any pet peeves, Rick, but didn't take long, did it, Rick?
No, this was a passionate one.
Oh, don't. Well, because I deal with a lot of them. I mean, some of these characters think that they are writing a marketing.
I know,
and it ain't a marketing document, and it ain't. Indeed, I often say to them that look, mate. If you want me to write marketing documents for you, you'll have to basically pay me about 5 times as much as I'm being paid by Omdia. Because I mean, those people earn a lot more money than I do to write that junk. So is
that true, Donna?
I mean, I would say people do tend to try, and if you get marketing people too involved, but I mean, analysts like the technical piece, they like the product updates. Another one I would say is like arguing with the analyst, which kind of like could potentially happen with Rick's story. It's okay to disagree with the analyst, and the analyst might disagree with you. But if you start arguing with them and it just goes back and forth, that's not conducive conversation to anyone.
Oh no, I think I've been in some of those meetings. I know Neil's on the phone. We've had, I know he said we've had some awful times with some analysts, but I'm talking about maybe 15 years ago. But that's all fun though, isn't it? That's what our lives are about. We need some of that color and spice in our life.
Yeah, I wouldn't particularly call it arguing, but I don't mind if someone wants to prove me wrong.
Yeah.
I love a challenge, but
Yeah.
I especially love a conversation.
Yeah.
Explain why you feel that I'm not correct or whatsoever. And then I can go into a discussion and explaining why I'm seeing things that I'm seeing that way. I'm always here to explain. I always want to talk about those sort of things. So if it's in a constructive way, like I'm here to ask questions, but also to answer questions. So if it's in a constructive way, I would like to argue, but then not argue.
No, and you're not an argumentative sort anyway, Madeline. What would you say is your favorite part of your job?
Oof. There are so many favorite parts, but I think it is that I do have a feeling that we're moving markets forward, and this job has so many different dimensions and different human connections or different relationships that you build, and that to me is also a massive fun part of the job.
What about you,
And
Rick?
yeah, technology is just so interesting. So.
Yeah, we're very lucky to be in this space.
Yeah.
Actually, cybersecurity is so fast moving. Like you said, Rick, quantum, and there's so much going on. And with there's just so much, and AI is now moving so fast. There's never a day that's the same, is there? And there's never a vendor that's the same. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I would agree, 100%.
Donna, what about you? What's your favorite part of what you do?
Yeah, I would say analyst relations and working with analysts is a critical part of a marketing function. And it's also very strategic because you can take those nuggets that analysts are giving you and take them back to the strategy part of the organization. You can help a company with their messaging. You can help the sales team sell more. And then you can generate leads through some of the assets that the analysts are creating. So I would say it is a critical part of what a company is doing. And very strategic. I would say, like, I want to be a strategic player to the companies I work with and help guide them, especially their messaging and sales team.
Yeah, there's not been any of our clients that have gone into an IPO or an acquisition that hasn't done lots of good analyst relations. It's absolutely imperative as part of that marketing mix. And then, I don't know if there are any companies that have done well and that hasn't actually briefed the analysts, because I think it's very underrated. I think what you do is often very underrated, because I think you're almost like there's a lot of string pulling that you do behind the scenes that people just don't see. I think that's really the case, which is why I think people don't. I think you are very influential, and I think that it's important as a vendor to know how to deal with you guys correctly. Have you written any papers on how to deal with the analysts? I know, Donna, you've done that because we've shared these things before, good analyst relations, the top 10 do's and the top 10 don'ts, because you shared something with me that was really, really good. And I think we kind of worked on it together, another paper for some of our clients. And we've got that. If anybody wants to see that, it's a really good paper that Donna's written, and we've updated it and changed it together. So if anybody wants that, I'm very happy to send it to you afterwards. And equally, if there's anything, Rick and Madeline, you think that really those good pearls of wisdom about how to get the most out of dealing with analysts, because I think it's really important as part of that mix. Because for sure, when I look back on all those things we've done with companies, the Alien Vaults of this world and all those companies, they took analyst relations and everything really, really seriously. And hey presto, they get somehow bought for masses. And I also know, and I've ever sat with, it always makes me laugh when I sit with you at the Analyst Forum, and we've been doing this for 19 years this year. I sit and have dinner, and as you said, Madeline, it's all about relationships. And it's actually sitting together in the evenings when the real good stuff gets done, eh? And we talk about that I get the greatest intelligence for all my articles, everything. You guys feed us with the most unbelievable, interesting nuggets of information. So I don't think we certainly it's a very symbiotic relationship. We need you and you need us, and it kind of, the world goes around, eh?
It is.
Sorry,
Rick, sorry.
No, carry on, mate.
Oh, no, yeah, well, I still remember the first time that I came to Forum. It was actually on my birthday.
I remember that,
The
Madeline.
17th of March, yes. Still, thank you for that cake. That cake was amazing that I got. But I also remember that during the dinner, we got such a vivid technology discussion. And I think when I got back to my room, I got 10 new report IDs. Just from having that conversation. And it was just those sort of things I always say you can really nerd out together, which is also very nice. And also for me, the ability to connect with other analyst firms. I think we can also learn a lot from each other, but also from how we do, or how analyst relation is done. I also think it's crucial because it's a part that you can really leverage, but it's a real, like, analyst relations is a real expertise.
Yeah.
It's a specific expertise.
Yeah.
And if you're working together with an analyst relation firm, they know how to work with you. They're your partner. They have all kinds of best practices, and they're searching how that fits in with your culture and with what kind of organization you have. So my advice to vendors is really leverage that, because it can really, really help.
Thank you, Madeline. Donna, have you got anything to just end this beautiful discussion on?
I would just say there's no better time like the present. If you're not working with analysts, get started as soon as possible. Start building those relationships, and meet up with analysts at events. I know we'll have RSA coming up in March, so that's a good opportunity. And just keep those interactions going throughout the year, and you leverage every touch point you can. There's no better time to start, because you are a company growing and developing. You've got interesting things to talk about. You want to hear from the analysts. You want to make sure your message is resonating, and you want to get customers talking about you. You want to increase your brand and awareness, and that's everything that analysts can help you do.
Can I just quickly point out that I often say to our clients, don't necessarily talk to poor old Rick and Madeline at RSA, because they're knackered. They're doing 45 million interviews in those 3 days. I don't know how the hell they do it. I see Rick, you are hilarious. I see you running down that corridor. I see you go down that corridor, this corridor. You're all over the place. You cut into a million. So I don't know how you can retain any of the information you have, because how many briefings do you end up having at RSA?
I'll give you an idea of how I keep tabs. As a journalist, of course, I always had to keep my notes, and I still write by hand. I've tried writing with a laptop or something like that, and the notes are rubbish.
No, I can't do it. I'm still using
my hand.
But
to give you an idea of how I try to keep tabs, this, if you can see it, is notepad number 348.
Gosh.
That's how I keep tabs on what I'm doing. And
wow.
I mean, at least the last 200 I've still got. I mean, I had to junk the first 100 or something, but it's like that, and it goes back, and they're dated and stuff like that. And I just keep continually referring. I'm currently writing about a vendor I've spoken to 3 times in the last 6 months. I'm collating information from 3 different conversations. And I mean, it's the only way you can do it. I mean, because and that's one of the nice things I might say about the Eskenzi Forum, is that it's like a mini RSA conference or a mini Black Hat, where I don't have to expend vast amounts of shoe leather to get from one place to the other, because it's all in one room. It's like speed dating, but in a single room, which is marvelous, and it's the way it should be.
Yeah,
and at least
Yeah, with RSA, I would definitely don't do a formal briefing and death by PowerPoint at an
No.
RSA.
No,
But I know
God,
that, yeah, I know Forrester, they do the panel discussion and a happy hour.
Yeah,
So
that's
doing
great.
stuff like that just to like have a little touch point.
absolutely.
Yeah, that's super. That was brilliant last year or this year, Madeline. You were very, very good on stage.
You.
You,
Thank
you
you.
always are fantastic.
We always do that at the RSA, which is a lot of fun because it's very easy to connect, to have like a more informal chat as well, to
Yeah.
get to know each other. It's also a place where we do set up like, oh, hey, I haven't met you before whatsoever.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, we should meet. And then the formal briefing will follow after, but it's
Yeah.
nice to connect. It's also always so nice to see familiar faces like
Yeah,
yours
it's lovely.
there. So
Yeah, no, Donna and I went hand in hand, didn't we, Donna, into that
Yeah,
one?
we did.
And
I love
think
that event. It's great.
yeah, it's great. I remember eating some strange rice ball or something.
Yes, that was odd.
It was okay because you never get any other food to your RSA, so you just eat whatever you can when you're on the high, and when you're on the hop. Okay, I think that's fine. I think we've. I don't want to make this too long, but thank you so much, all three of you. I really appreciate it. You're all beautiful pearls in this world that we live in, and your pearls of wisdom are very, very important to all of us. Thank you so much. And
thank you for having us.
Oh no,
yeah,
always. Thank you.
Cheers, Doc. Cheers. Well, thanks for allowing me to be the token man on this one.
I know, well, you are fantastic, and I have a lovely Christmas and New Year, and we'll see you hopefully soon.